Now, I know what you're thinking. Gathering is scary, because people are out there that they don't want to work as hard as you do, or that as hard as you want to do. They just want to take and take and take and take all of your hard work and reap all the benefits of it. But gathering is fun, and some of us, that's the main gameplay we like to do. We just want to gather until our wits end and craft and just play that kind of a simulator, which is fine. I enjoy it myself, because sometimes when you hit those big T8, T7 nodes, there's few things that are sweeter in this game. So if you want to be like a big T8 gatherer, a big hunkin', big money, big bank, big silver boy, then watch this guide because I have some beginner tips for you, and I'm going to start another series based on just gathering alone. I'll make several videos on it. I'll cover all the aspects so you can become a massive gatherer as well. So here we are in Ferndale, a little area tucked away next to Limhurst. This is kind of my area I like to be in, but we are going to get right into the action here and show you just a quick guide on how gathering works. So you have the 5 main ways to gather. Fishing is included, but we'll do a separate video on that. So we have gathering here. We have the harvesting for fiber, we have trees, we have ore, we have stone, and then we have skinning. I'm featuring skinning today because skinning is the only one where it's guaranteed that you have to have some kind of combat. So how it works is depending on what you're gathering, it is recommended to use the gathering gear. Because if you look at my character, there are buffs that you get that increase your gathering yield. Very important to remember. So like, let's take, for example, we're just going to smack this little fox. Yes, it's cute, I know, but we need to gather it. So you're getting hide. It's simple as that. See where it says gather bonus? That's due to the stacks that I currently have. There's the hide right there. It is a T2 mob, so I'll get T2 yield from gathering. Now, depending, of course, what kind of gathering that you are doing, you want to have a relative tool. So skinning, ore, fiber, rocks, trees. It's very basic, very simple. So this is a T3 mob here, so I'm just going to thwack it and whack it just a couple of times, put up a little bit of a fight. Not really. So these mobs, they drop trees, and look at that. I've got tier 3 trees. You can also see here at the top where it says premium bonus. Now that is a bonus that is specifically applied to premium users. So let's take a quick look at it. If you look at the little window where you can buy premium, you get extra things from it. 50% fame bonus, counts towards all fame. Learning points, very important. We'll touch on that later. And here, 50% gathering yield. It actually does come in handy a lot of the time. Now I'm only doing tier 4 stuff just because it's going to be like a basic guide for everything. And I'm only going to feature stuff like, you know, in the non-lethal zones. We'll have other different tips and tricks for like lethal zones, for like red zone and black zone, for example. But that's basically how all the gathering works. It's very simple. For potions, if you're in like tier 5 and tier 4, it doesn't really matter what potions you use. You can use whatever you want. Poisons in case you want to kill stuff quick, whatever. But food, that does matter. I recommend T7 pork pie if you can afford it. Really, they're about 4K. They're not 17. Reason being is increase your max load capacity and your gathering yield by 15%. Another buff in addition to this. Let's eat one. Num 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 num. See right there? 15% plus all these, you'll be gathering lots in no time. There are alternatives. If you can't afford that, that's fine. You can go down to tier 5 at 10%, or if you really can't afford it, you're brand new, no premium, you can get a tier 3 at yield percent 5. Always have a pie on. I don't care what kind of gathering you're doing, always have a pie on. So that's about it for the rough overview of the equipment. Oh, one more thing about the backpacks. So there are specific gathering backpacks. Like you have a bag, right? Your normal bag for everything. But in the cape slot, you can equip a specific backpack corresponding to whatever you're gathering. And it'll give you a percentage reduction on the weight of that specific type of tier and gathering item. So they're nice to have. I always recommend them as well. For mounts, you do want to have a mount that's pretty beefy, you know, one that can carry a lot. You don't have to go Ox, but Ox is cheap and it's beginner friendly, so I'd recommend T4 or T3 Ox, especially if you're just starting out. Some other tips also, you do want to kind of focus on one at a time. Although I recommend doing all of them, because I have tier 8 in all of my gathering. I recommend doing them all, but focus on one at a time. That way, while you're gathering, if you have some spec in the others, you see something shiny, you bring all your tools with you, you can gather it even if you don't have the buffs accordingly to it. I did forget to mention the weapon type. When you're in the non-lethal zones like tier 5, tier 4, whatever, tier 3, it really doesn't matter much about the weapon. You want to have something for skinning so you can take down the mob fast. Other than that, like, you don't need to worry about weapons that help you escape until you get into lethal zones like the red zone and black zone. So for the weapon, honestly, pick something you want to get some fame in, and you get a little bit of fame from killing the animals. Not a lot, but anything helps, right? So for me, I'll go like a battle axe or in like a torch if I'm just doing tier 4, tier 5 stuff. So now let's take a quick overview of the entire map and see how it corresponds. So we have these different zones, right? You can clearly see them: marshes, like hills, mountains, forest, desert. And all these zones, you have little baby zones, all these areas I should say, you have little baby zones, and they all have different resources, right? They have different tiers: tier 6, whatever, yellow, red, tier 7, tier 5, tier 3, tier 4. And when you click on them, they'll have 3 resources that are featured, at least 3, and well, maximum 3. They only ever have 3 at a time. So depending on the certain biome that you're looking at, that's the correct word, they will have a specific 3 type of resources. So for example, if you go to the tree area, you have wood, stone, and hide. You go over now to the desert area. Oh, let me try this again. There we go. Hide, fiber, and ore. Let's now go back to the hill area, which is like Martlock and all that stuff. You have the ore, wood, stone. Let's go back now to the marshy area, which is one of my favorite areas for faction PvP, but you know, that's just me. You have the trees, hide, fiber, and then now get out of this, go to the mountain area, which is the place I started at first. It's a very good zone for beginners, I feel like. You have the rocks, fiber, and ore. So you only have 3 of those at a time in any single given area. But when you look at different zones, they will have different tiers of things to skin and things to gather corresponding to the mobs they have in there, displayed by the tiers on the map. So if you look here, tier 5 zone, you will only go back 1 below or 2 below the tier of the actual zone, and then you'll go up to the tier of the zone itself. So this is a tier 5 zone. The max is tier 5 mats, but it will go back to at least tier 3, so you get some other resources in there. Let's take a look now in like the black zone, for example. Here's a tier 6 zone, right? You only go up to tier 6 max, but you do go back 2 tiers. You go below it to the tier 4. And that's basically how it works for the open world. So it's very cut and dry in the world continent. This is where like all the beginner stuff is, definitely. But when you get out to the black zone, I mean, you got stuff mixed, matching, and going all over the place. Like you look over here, bunch of mountains, but right in the middle of it, you have these kind of zones, right? It's like a random swampy zone. Like, how did that get there? But that's the nice thing about Albion, is they did a good job in all the different biomes and really mixing it up. Like a couple random mountain spots here. There's some desert spots over here mixed in and all this green. Like, they do a good job at mixing it. Now, you can get very different zone types, especially in the Avalonian roads. Like, the rules that I'm talking about now don't really apply in the Avalon roads, because you can have all kinds of gathering. The tiers go up and down. Like, it's basically free for all in there, but we'll make a separate video into the roads of Avalon. But for the most part, that's basically the gist of it and how it works with the different tiers corresponding. Just remember to always check your map and see what you're looking at so you can know where to go. Also, if you take a look up here, you have rates of enchantment. So every single zone will have different rates corresponding to what's going on in that zone. You have the 0.1, 0.2, and 0.3. 0.3 obviously will give you the most bang for your buck. These 0.1, 2, and 3s can be applied to any tier besides 2, 1, so or 3 even. So you can have like a 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, whatever, so on and so forth. But this can kind of dictate sometimes how much you want to gather in specific areas. So we take a look. For example, 4.1, there's an 8% chance that it'll happen. 4.2, 1.6 chance. And then the 4.3 is 0.32% chance, very rare. So depending on how those numbers correlate and how they correspond, you might want to change your tactics just a little bit, but you can have different numbers in every zone you go to. Other one was 9%, this one's 16%. And of course, because it goes from 4 to 6, you have a breakdown of all the different tiers in there as well. Last but certainly not least, we want to take a look at the Destiny board and see how the gathering corresponds and correlates with everything else. So drag this out just a little bit, there we go. So you have here the trainee gatherer. So when you first go through the game tutorial, you get that knocked out already. You get your basic tools. There's my fishing. Oh, my fishing isn't tier 8. That's the only thing I don't have tier 8 yet, but I do have all my other gathering as tier 8. So these are the gathering trees, you go down, you have T4. Yep, you can do the T4, which means you can gather up to tier 5 as a flat resource. Not enchanted tier 5, but you can always go one tier up as a flat resource. So if I have, let's say for example, tier 4 sickle, right? I'm gathering tier 4 resource nodes. With that tier 4, I can gather a tier 5 node, just not a 5.1, because you need a tier 5 tool to do 5.1 stuff. Does that make sense? And then it correlates down the tiers, of course. So you have tier 4, tier 5, tier 6, tier 7, and finally tier 8, the big money. So if you do have premium, this is why it's kind of important to get premium too, if you can. Gathering takes a long time to do. It's always been that way. So whenever you're trying to do gathering and you're trying to get that first level into the next tier, it takes a lot of gathering fame to get to. Once you get it, then you get in the expertise for it, comes a little quicker. But just to get the level 1, it takes a long time. So what people will do, they try and save their learning points. I actually have a lot to spend, but you get about 30 a day if you have premium. They'll save them up, and then when they get to this line right here, this is the part where you can actually just spend the points and learn. And then it resets, goes to 0, but you have to get back to that point. It's about 20%, I believe, of the actual like full gauge you need to get to. So what people will do is they'll like if they're going to tier 8, they'll gather all the way up to this line right here, and then once they hit it, they'll spend whatever points they have and just finish it out. That way, then it's not taking forever. That would be the method that I recommend. If you are more involved in combat in this game, you might want to save it for that. But as far as learning points, I think one of the best ways to use it is to make sure you max out your gathering trees. And once you get them, then you can spend it however you want. If you want to sit here and like max everything out all the time, that way you have the most efficient gathering possible, that's fine. But that's more end game stuff. To get your nodes unlocked, at least for the first time, I recommend using the learning points. And that's basically it. That's basically all I have for this rough, quick tutorial on how gathering works and how the different gears work, the foods and everything like that. And the next part, I will have more in depth. I will take us into the red zones. I'll take us into the black zones even. And I'll have a video completely on the Avalonian roads to kind of show how gathering works in the dangerous areas, what potions we can use. We'll use different potions. We'll have that food and maybe some other foods as well. Definitely different weapon setups. We'll have some examples of how to escape and things such as that, so you can have a safe time gathering out there and make big money in Albion Online. So thanks for watching this video, and I hope you guys join me in the next ones that I make. See you later.